Hello there and welcome back to Kaladesh, where the fires are still burning bright. Today we're doing our second deck tech on another Kaldheim commander. Our chosen one today is Fynn the Fangbearer. Fynn is absolutely lovely little card. For 1 and a green, he's a 1/3 Deathtouch, legendary human warrior. And whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison out counters. This, I found, has been such an easy deck to make, a really cheap deck as well, and is the perfect counter for all of your friends out there who are building the absolutely disgusting Vorinclex decks. As this one has the speed on your side, so you should be able to wipe them out before they even get a chance to get him onto the field. So let's have a look at the deck then. Obviously, this is just like a starting point. As I said, I haven't really ordered much for this deck at all, so it's easy to adjust, obviously fit to your own play style and the group which you're playing with. Obviously you can really overpower this deck, but that will cost quite a bit of money. There's lots of brilliant green cards you could put in here, like the Great Henge of course, but we went for a nice simple cheap one for all you budget players out there. So start things off, we've got 33 basic land. Just the one artifact, and today's one is Hall of Triumph. It's a 3 to cast, legendary artifact. It enters, you can choose a colour, and creatures of the chosen colour will get +1/+1. So it's the only really downside to Deathtouch is the fact they're all so teeny. So if you do have to drag it out to the later game, just having that small buff on your creatures will really help us out. Next up we'll go on to the enchantments then. Again, these are mainly just done so you can last the game a bit longer if it does draw into the middle phase or late phase. We can start things off with a Force Adaptation. There's only 1 green to cast for an enchantment aura. At the beginning of your upkeep you're going to give a +1/+1 counter to enchanted creature. Beautiful, simple, brilliant. Citizen Training is our next aura. As it enters you can draw a card. It's only 1 and a green. And your enchanted creature is going to get +1/+0 and trample, which obviously trample is a very big part of this deck. You need to get that little bit of Deathtouch damage to your opponents so they get those poison counters. Next up we've got another small buff. It's a Mantle of Webs for 1 and a green. Enchanted creature aura, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+3 and reach. Again, with Deathtouch, with green in general, you are going to be lacking on flyers and any flying defense. And you don't want to get taken out too quickly by that before you can poison your counters. Poison counter your opponents to death even. So yeah, just a nice little touch. Blanchwood Armour is next for 2 and a green. Enchant Armour. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. Nice and simple, so good on a mono green deck. And then we have the Cartouche of Strength for 2 and a green. It's an enchant creature aura. As it enters the battlefield, you may have enchanted creature fight target creature an opponent controls, which obviously most of the creatures in here, as I said, will be Deathtouch. It's just a good way of getting rid of somebody else's creature, which is causing you issues. The enchanted creature will also get +1/+1, and that ever-important trample. One of the more pricey cards in the set now is Beastmaster's Ascension. It's a 2 and a green for an enchantment, and then whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on Beastmaster Ascension, and as long as there are 7 or more quest counters on there, you get +5/+5 for all creatures you control. That's really obviously going to help us overpower our opponents. If you can get this in your opening hand, absolutely gorgeous. And then our last enchantment aura is a Lure for 2 green and 1, sorry. As an aura again, and all creatures able to block enchanted creature do so. It's nice to combine with your Force Adaptation. Get a massive Deathtoucher, make everybody block it, ping 1 to every single one of them, they all die. Turns out I was fibbing, got another one in there. We have Tall as a Beanstalk, 3 and 1, enchanted creature gets +3/+3, reach, and is a giant addition to its other types. So again, not the best one in the whole entire world, but the reach is nice, and the +3/+3 ain't too bad at all for just the 4 mana for it. We move on to Sorceries next. We've got 8 Sorceries in this deck. I know what you're all going to say as well. No, I do not have any land grab spells. In an all green deck? What are you doing? Well, everything's cheap. So, irresistible prey is 1 green. Target creature must be blocked this turn if able. Draw a card. Root Out is a destroy artifact or enchantment for 3. Not the cheapest one out there, but it's nice to have your options when it comes to removing artifacts and enchantments. My playgroup seems to love the swords. Not a fan of them personally myself, haven't got that kind of money, but I do love blowing them up. So next up we've got King Howl's Revenge for 2 and a green. Until end of turn, target creature you control gets +1/+1 for each creature you control and gains trample, and it's got to be blocked again. So again, this is like loads and loads of different effects all in one card. Absolutely lovely for 3 mana. Roar of Challenge. All creatures able to block target this turn do so. That creature also gets indestructible if you control a power 4 or greater creature. Harmonize next. One of those essential draw spells in any green deck. 2 and 2 green, just draw 3 cards. Declare Dominance for 3 and 2 green is a bit of a pricey one. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, and again it's that lovely lure effect where all creatures able to block at this turn must do so. Hunter's Prowess is 4 and a green. Until end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3 trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. As you notice, we've got quite a few little draw engines in here, nothing big time unfortunately. But obviously with everything being quite low to cast, you are going to be running out of cards in your hand quite quickly. And then our last sorcery, yes, I know there's a much better version, I only have 1. So we're going to go for an overrun instead, for 2 and 3 green, to give creatures I control +3/+3 and trample till end of turn. Moving on to the instants, we've got 15. We could be using these mainly to be like buffing the creatures at the last possible second, hopefully losing as few Deathtouch creatures a turn as possible, removing as many of your opponents. So 1 green, Warrior's Lesson, until end of turn, up to 2 target creatures you control each game whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Giant Growth is an absolutely beautiful card for 1 green, target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Simple, brilliant. Aspect of Hydra. Apologies. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is your devotion to green. Obviously in a mono green deck, we're going to be having a lot of devotion out there. Might of the Masses is another 1 to cast. Target creature will get +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature you control. Just a nice way to make sure you don't lose one of your best Deathtouchers. Titanic Growth. Not as good as the Giant Growth. 1 and a green for +4/+4 until end of turn. Return to Nature is another artifact enchantment removal card, but it gives us all these options. Try and run one of these in every single green deck I've got, just because it's nice to have the options for only 2 mana. Naturalize again is another destroy artifact or enchantment. Can't get enough of them. Gift of Strength for 1 and a green is going to give target creature +3/+3 and that all-important reach until end of turn. Tread Upon will give +2/+2 and trample until end of turn for only 1 and a green. Broken Wings will destroy an artifact or enchantment or a creature with flying. Yeah, it's a little bit more price than the others, but having that creature with flying option on there is nice. For 2 and a green, you can Awaken the Bear and give target creature +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. Wild Sizes again, +2/+2 and trample. This one lets you draw a card as well for the 3 mana. Synchronized Strike. It's a lovely little one, I find. 2 and a green for an instant. Untap up to 2 target creatures. They each get +2/+2 until end of turn. So if you have just swung out at somebody and then somebody thinks they can take advantage, think again, my friend. Feel the Deathtouch. Hunter's Insight, 2 and a green. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. And then last of all, we're going to press the advantage for 2 and 2 green. Up to 2 target creatures get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. And then finally, let's go over the creatures. So, not including Fynn, we have 34 creatures. I said a lot of these are very low on the CMC scale. You've got a few higher ones in there as well. A few which are a bit duff, not going to lie. Nice to replace at a later date. But I'm finding it very hard to find any Deathtouch cards online at the moment. Everyone seems to be going Deathtouch mad. I blame you, Vorinclex. So, Sedge Scorpions, 1 green, 1/1, Deathtouch. Gnarlwood Dryad for 1 green, 1/1 Deathtouch, but he's going to get +2/+2 as long as you have 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. A Tajaru Blight Blade is 1 green for 1/1 Deathtouch. Classic Moss Viper, again 1/1 Deathtouch for 1 green. The Nanum Renegade is a 1/2 1 green Deathtouch. It's going to enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn. Moving on to our 2-drops, we've got a Deadly Recluse, 1/2 Reach and Deathtouch. No Deathtouch on the Masked Vandal, however he's incredibly useful. As he enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. So yeah, only really play this one if you have to. I've only got it in here as yet again another type of artifact or enchantment removal. The fact that it's an exile this time around, though, really does make this worth its value. Ambush Viper. Flash, 2 to cast, Deathtouch, 2/1. Superb when the opponent's attacking you. Swinging out of a nice big creature and you've got no defense. Boom. Dead. Wren's Run Vanquisher is 1 and a green. It's a 3/3 elf warrior. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you have to reveal an elf or pay 3. Which I'm not going to lie, not the best in the world. If you're paying 5 for a 3/3 Deathtoucher, it's a bit pricey. Unfortunately, beggars can't be choosers when it comes to green Deathtouch creatures, as you can tell. Next up, we've got the Bitterblade Warrior for 1 and a green. He's a 2/2. You can exert him as he attacks. If you do, he's going to get +1/+0 and Deathtouch until end of turn. The Deathhood Cobra is another one which is temperamental. 1 and a green for a 2/2, and then you can pay 1 and a green to give him either Reach and or Deathtouch until end of turn. Next up, we've got the Heir of the Wilds. Again, 2 to cast, 2/2 Deathtouch. And whenever Heir of the Wilds attacks, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you're going to get +1/+1 till end of turn. Thornwield Archer, one of our other elves. He's a 2/1 Reach and Deathtouch for 2. Fertilid. This is what I've got instead of my land grabs. Let's be honest, I'm not really going to need a lot of land grab spells in this deck, especially with the cheap CMCs. But it's nice to have a couple there just in case. Being on a creature as well, and target player means you can get a little bit political with this one if you need to. Crowl Stinger, 2 and a green, 2/2 Deathtouch. The Turn Timber Basilisk is 1 and 2 green for a 2/1 Deathtouch with a landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, you may have target creature block Turn Timber Basilisk this turn if able. Lovely little ability. If somebody's got Falcon Reef Noble, Blood Artist, anything annoying that they never ever block with because they don't want to ever lose it. Death Mist Raptor is 2 green and 1 for a 3/3 Deathtouch. Unfortunately, the Megamorph side doesn't. The Morph side doesn't really work on him. Megamorph does, of course. It's nice with a 4/4 in play for a change. 2 and a green again will get you a 2/2 Deathtouch Daggerback Basilisk. Really like the art on that one. One of the very few rares is a Hornet's Nest for 2 and a green. It's a Defender 0/2. Absolutely lovely one, this. Whenever it's dealt damage, you can put that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens with Deathtouch and flying onto the battlefield. And obviously if your opponent's got no flying defense, 5 of these insects going through, death. Skullwinders, 2 and a green for a 1/3 Deathtouch. And you can return target card from your graveyard to your hand as he enters the battlefield. And again, choose an opponent. That player also returns a card from the graveyard to their hand. So obviously, be careful when you're playing this one. You don't want to be helping out the person who's in the lead, or suddenly make the person who's bottom place jump to being the arch enemy. Nope, no Deathtouch, but look how cute he is. Toski, Bearer of Squirrels, is 3 and a green for a 1/1. He can't be countered, he's indestructible, attacks every turn if able, but more importantly, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. It could be a constant problem for your opponents. It might only be one, but it's that constant Yeah, potentially drawing a card every single turn he does get through. Ivyline Denizen is 3 and a green for a 2/3, and then whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It's just a nice way to buff up all your little ones as they're coming along. So I'm lucky enough to get this one out quite early in one of the few games I have played with this one. And she really did help my board state as we got to mid-game. The Pentagon of Eternal Wilds is 3 and a green. He's a 2/2 in case you have a green creatures +1/+1. The nice thing with him, otherwise, is the tap 1 green and tap to give another target green creature you control trample until end of turn. Kaldheim Adversary is another elf, 3 and a green. One of my favourites. He's a 2/3, he costs 2 less to cast if an opponent controls a green permanent, and let's be honest, who doesn't play green? He's got Deathtouch, of course, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Some really old school one here now. Marsh Viper is 4 to cast, bit pricey, for 1/2. And if he deals damage to any player, the player will get 2 poison counters. So yeah, no Deathtouch on him, but really cheap online. I think he's only about 15p, which for that ability, spot on. Ordinary Dilophosaur. Yeah, I'm going to guess that's about right. It's a 2/2 Deathtouch, and whenever he attacks, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, he's going to get +2/+2 until end of turn. Ooh, sneaking ahead there. Kessig Recluse is another one of our Reach and Deathtouch for 2 and 2 green for a 2/3. Then we have Farrak's Disciple, 3 and a green for a 2/3 Deathtouch with Renown 1, so if it deals combat damage to a player, give him a +1/+1 counter, and he becomes Renowned. Anara, Wolvid Familiar, is one of these little gap fillers for the meantime. It is nice for 4 to cast for a 4/4, and as long as it's your turn, your commander is going to have Indo. Fynn is going to draw a lot of attention. A lot of death spells. You're going to have to cast him quite a few times throughout the game. However, if you can swing with him on your turn, and he's Indo, it's just a nice little stopper for your opponents. Another old school one here, Cockatrice, 3 and 2 green for a 2/4 flyer. Yes, it's pricey. It's very old school text here for Deathtouch. If Cockatrice blocks or is blocked by any non-wall creature, destroy that creature at end of combat. Token in many people's decks is the Acidic Slime for 3 and 2 green Deathtouch. And ETB, you can destroy an artifact, enchantment, or be that kind of guy and blow up a land. Greater Basilisk, 3 and 2 green for a 3/5 Deathtouch. Nothing special. He's one of the biggest creatures I've got in here, unfortunately. Hornet Queen is an absolutely essential drop in here. 4 and 3 for a 2/2 flying Deathtouch. She's going to make you 4/1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and Deathtouch as she enters. And as I said before, if an opponent doesn't have flying, 5 flyers, that's death. And then last of all, Beanstalk Giant. He's got the lovely sorcery side of him, Fertile Footsteps for 2 and a green. You can search low for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield. Doesn't even have to be tapped. Shuffle your library, play that part first, he then goes into exile. You can cast him for 6 and a green, and he's going to have power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. So, that is Fynn the Fangbearer. As I said, really, really simple. Lots of cards you can easily swap out, upgrade. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you get on with them. Any likes, shares, always appreciated. If you like what you're seeing so far, give us a subscribe, and we'll hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot.